Hey guys, I'm going to be taking you through today a workout for larger people. I've been asked by a couple of friends of mine to film this workout to give them a little bit of reassurance through their core workouts in order to build up some scaffolding and some strength in order to go through the cardio workouts that will help with weight loss and fat loss and getting fitter and healthier. So a few things that I'm going to make sure that I do for you today is to reassure you through the positions and through the moves and recognise some of the issues that you may have with getting into positions and creating the movements and tightening the certain muscles that you need to tighten. I also recognise that it's taken so long to maybe block out any kind of connection with the rest of the body that you have from the brain, and very much core working out and Pilates is all about connecting back with the body again. So as long as I can get you to embrace that body and work out how it moves and get it moving in the right way, then you will create that scaffolding that I was talking about before to hold your joints together, to maybe protect the joints, the backs, the knees, things like that, for when you're doing your more impact-based cardio workouts. So off we go. We're going to start off in standing here. You need to get your mat on the floor, some nice loose clothing that you feel comfortable in. I'm going to start off with the feet hip width apart. Toes pointing forwards, knees just a little bit soft, so not bent, not in a squat, just a little bit soft. I want you to feel like your big toes pushing down slightly into the floor, and the weight is equal between the toes and the heels. So you may want to rock forwards and backwards a couple of times through the toes and the heels. Just feel the abdominals working a little bit as you rock backwards through into the heels. You should feel this tightening up very slightly inside. Good, and then settle somewhere in between. I just want you to rock your weight from side to side, so taking the weight on one foot and then onto the other foot. Good, and you should feel each glute working. So the bum working on one side and then the bum working on the other side. Good stuff. And then settle in between. And then we're just going to do some squats, really small squats. So just squatting backwards, sticking the bum out behind and then coming up tall. So the bum goes backwards, you tighten through here, squeeze through your bum, and come up tall. Good. Excellent. Tighten through the quads, squeeze the quads as you come up tall. Good work. We're not going down too low. One thing with putting on a bit of weight is that you may find that your knees get sore. They do take some of the force. So we're not going down low on these squats, we're just doing a really small bending of the knees and tightening. And frankly, this is the range that we work through in everyday life anyway. Just through this small range. Squeeze your bum. Obviously when we're going to pick something heavy up from the floor we go a little bit lower, but this is a very useful range and really good for tightening and strengthening around the knees. Good stuff. Alright, so toes pointing forwards again. I want you to think about the upper part here. I want you to scoop in through that lower tummy a little bit. Open out through the chest. If you've got larger boobs, then you'll be very used to curling through the chest here to hide them away. I want you to just think about a big smile across the shoulder blades here. We're not sticking the chest out, so we're not flaring the ribs and sticking out the boobs here. We're keeping those ribs down, so you will still feel like you're keeping your modesty a little bit there, not thrusting things out in front of you, keeping those ribs down. Open out through the chest. So it's a very subtle difference. It's just this. It's just pulling those shoulders back. Think about using around the shoulder blades here to just draw together gently, and that opens out the front of the chest and broadens through the collarbones here. Brilliant. Now I'm going to get you to bring your palms facing up. Now we talk about a soft piece of fruit between the elbows and the body. You may actually feel that you've got this contact between the body and the elbow here. That is just fine. The shoulder and the elbow need to be generally in line, but if they need to be out a little bit here, I just don't mind. It's not important. We're just taking the arms out to the side here. You may feel that you're getting a stretch through the front of the chest. If so, wonderful. If you feel like there's a bit of compression at the back, then that's just fine as well. So we're just opening out the front of the chest here. And that should just be stretching. Meanwhile, you've got your tummy tight, you've got your knees bent a little bit, and you're just taking those hands out to the side. Brilliant. And just make sure you're breathing. Excellent. Then we're going to move on to stretching the arms out to the side here, pushing the fingertips out. There should be some tightness up through the arm there as you go. Arms out to the side. elbows in, and then hands together. Hands out, stretch out, back in, and together. Now it's useful for me to film this because I can always see whether those arms are level. So some of this stuff can be done in front of the mirror if you want to. If you find that a little bit upsetting, then you do not have to. Just connect with the body, think about the positions, think about the stretching, think about staying a little bit taut through those abdominals, through your glutes, through your thighs, so everything's working to stabilise. Brilliant. We're going to do a little rotation on the next one. So from here, out, hands out, we'll rotate just the body. So the hips stay pointing forwards, back, elbows in, hands out, elbows out, rotate just that upper body. Again, things may feel like they're compressing before you actually get a stretch through the back, but you are moving, and that's the important thing. You are rotating through the upper back here, and you're using those legs strong, the abdominals strong to keep those hips pointing forwards. Think about headlights on the front of the hips pointing directly forwards. Good, I've got a bit out of sync there, sorry guys. Hands out, arms out, rotate, back to the front, elbows in, hands in. One more each side of these. It's really important to keep this upper back mobile. Anyone with lower back problems out there knows that they need to keep this upper back mobile. I say everyone knows, it is important to keep this upper back mobile. It helps the lower back to be able to absorb some of the forces that it needs to. Lovely. All right. So I know that getting down onto the floor can be a little bit of a challenge. Now, if you need to do this on the bed, that is just fine. But coming down onto the floor, just take your time. Doesn't matter if it takes a little bit longer, you can pause the video and get yourself there. Bring me a little bit closer, and then you can carry on. But coming down onto one knee here can be quite good. Onto the other knee, sit to the side. And then coming down into this Pilates rest position, we call it. So coming down onto your back. Now then, first thing I want you to do is tucking the chin and lengthening the back of the neck. Now, this will give you a couple of double chins here if you do. It doesn't matter, even the slimmest of people will get this feeling of compression at the front here. Now you need to just relax that off slightly because that doesn't need to be too full on. I want you to open out through the chest. Pull the shoulders down away from the ears there. Good, so anyone who's been sort of pulling the shoulders forwards, then this will really benefit you to open out through the front of the chest there. These ribs need to sink down towards the floor. You should be able to feel at the back here that there's some contact at the back of the rib cage on the floor, so sinking those ribs down. Now then, there's a lot of lower back issues around, so just by rocking backwards and forwards here with the pelvis, you might feel like there's some aching, some stiffness that you can feel through that lower back. But I just want you to rock forwards and backwards here. Now again, things might just come together and feel a little bit squishy at the front here, and you may actually feel like the back is a little bit stiff to get into that range there. But what I want you to do is just rock backwards and forwards with the pelvis, feel that pelvis range. And then settle somewhere in between, which should be just a little arch in the lower back behind here. Good, don't worry if you can't fit your fingertips underneath the back there. There should just be a little bit of an arch. Now then, we think about tightening through the pelvic floor at this point. Very, very important to have your pelvic floor muscles working, but also they link in with your deep abdominals. That's your corset muscle that draws everything in here. So sometimes if you feel you carry weight around the abdominal area here, it can be weight, but it could also be that these deep abdominal muscles are not working and they're not drawing everything together and in. And that helps to start with to get you feeling a lot better as far as your posture and your overall appearance is concerned. Just drawing in and pulling in through these muscles, not too strongly, but that can just reposition everything and give you a good appearance here, but also obviously to support around the back, to support all of your waist here, which helps prevent lower back problems. So your feet stay hip width apart. I want you to think in that neutral pelvis with the little arch in the lower back. I want you to think about just tightening the pelvic floor. but not fast. If you think about 10 levels to go up in a lift, you want to think about going up to the 5th level. So I want you to tighten gradually. So this is the maximum contraction, and you're tightening up through those 5 levels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's just tightening through the pelvic floor. Relax that off again, and we're going to do the same again, and I want you to find those hip bones at the front, and then just push in a little bit. You're going to have to push in quite firmly to feel those deep abdominal muscles. So I want you to tighten for 5, to the count of 5, through that pelvic floor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Brilliant. So that should be a 50% contraction out of a maximum one. I don't want you to feel like you're pushing your tummy out to get that contraction. You want to almost feel like you're drawing in a little bit here, so you've got that tightening. Brilliant. So once you've got that tightening, then I want you to lift one leg up off the floor. Now a good tabletop position is shin level with the ceiling and knee above the hip. Now that isn't essential. If you feel like you get to that point and you're not getting there because of things restricting you, sort of thigh size and tummy size here, don't worry if you can't actually bring that in far enough. It's just fine. In fact, it makes it work just that little bit harder to have the leg just out a little bit. So consider yourself working up a level. And what we're doing is just bringing in alternate legs to here, to that tabletop position. When you bring the foot down to the floor, push down into it and peel up the other one. Push down into it and peel up the other one. So that pushing down will get your glute working on that side a little bit, and then the other leg should feel like it floats up a little bit easier into that tabletop position. Now this all might feel a bit laborious to start with, but don't worry about it. It gets easier, as with everything. The aim of the exercise is to keep everything level at the front here, just lifting and lowering, lifting and lowering. Good work. You want to think about drawing in through those lower abdominals there. Make sure you're keeping the ribs down, keeping the chest open, and keeping the chin tucked. Good. Brilliant. Think about, again, this position here, and bringing the foot down to the floor. You might actually feel like there's too much contact between here. Again, if the legs are a little bit further out and you can't lift them quite so far, it doesn't matter. In fact, that feels slightly harder work there to do that. So again, don't worry if it's harder work. You're just lifting and lowering. Now we're thinking about keeping everything in line. Think about 2 train tracks, lifting and lowering. The temptation sometimes is to come out and around the side here. I notice quite a lot with people. So if you come up straight, even if you're not getting quite as far, I'd rather that than you came around and out to the side like that. Good. So lifting and lowering straight up to the front. Like I say, even if you're not getting quite so far. Brilliant. So take a breath. Chances are you've been holding on to that a little bit. So breathe in, breathe out, drop the shoulders away from the ears. Keep those ribs down, keep that little arch in the back. Feet hip width apart. And then lowering one knee out to the side. And come back up. Lower out to the side. You might actually find with your feet and your knees hip width apart, you are actually getting some thigh contact here. Don't worry about that, totally fine. Not a problem at all. Good, so just lowering out to the side and come back up. Don't worry about how much range you've got into these positions. Just taking the leg out slowly, don't let the leg drop. Bang, out to the side. The aim is to keep these hips as level as possible. Think about headlights pointing straight up. Brilliant. Keep the feet firmly on the floor. And when the leg goes out to the side, go on the outside of the foot. Roll onto the outside of the foot each time. Good. While you're doing this, just make sure you're not holding too much tension up through here and up through here. So relax the shoulders down and the ribs down and try and draw in the tension through those deep abdominals and through that pelvic floor. Just scooping in here, tightening through the pelvic floor. Wonderful. Good, and then we're going to start sliding one leg away. I'm just going to make sure that I've got enough room here. Good, chest open, chin tucked, ribs down, little arch in the back. Tighten through that pelvic floor, and then slide one leg away. I want you to tighten up through that thigh, and then come back up again. Slide the other way, leg away, point the toes, stretch out through that leg, squeeze your bum a little bit. Good. Keeping those ribs down, keeping that little arch in the back, keeping those deep abdominals switched on. Nice. Good stuff, guys. Go at whatever speed you feel comfortable going at. So that leg should be sliding along the floor depending on what surface you're doing this workout on. And these are all good for walking, re-educating your core muscles and your postural muscles for walking. Going to do one more each leg. Lovely. And then we're going to move on to a shoulder bridge. This is a real exercise for getting in touch with all those different vertebrae in your back. So we're trying to move one vertebrae or backbone at a time. We're going to be flattening the lower back to the floor, and then we're going to be peeling up one at a time. So if you've got stiff through your back, or you're just trying not to think about this part of your body very much, it's very good to get back in touch with those different joints, those different parts, and moving them individually. So tucking your bottom under, scooping up, squeezing your bum, curling up onto those shoulder blades, and then curl back down again. Now, it's very normal to get a bit of cramping through the hamstrings in here, especially if you haven't exercised for a while. So if you pull your heels as close in towards your bum as you can, now that might not be too far. So obviously you can only bring them in as far as you can, but it's not essential that they're so close in that you're really uncomfortable around here. So just bring them in as far as you can to be comfortable. Tucking under, flattening the lower back, peeling up, pushing the knees away in that direction. That gets those glutes firing. Good, and then curl back down again, scooping in through here. Now this all might be compressing a little bit here, but you just do as much as you can. Curling up, tucking under. Good, they should open out a little bit, and then pulling the ribs down first, and everything contracts in the front in order to place one vertebra down at a time. You probably feel like you're moving as one block to start with, but trust me, the more of this that you do, the better you feel you move through that lower back. One more time. And on the way down, let me think about pushing one vertebra down into some soft sand. What a nice thought. Imprinting that spine down into that sand. Good, settling again with your feet hip width apart. I just want to do a couple of breaths here, just to settle the body down and try to get rid of any tension that you hold in your diaphragm. So, in through your nose, breathing down into those lower ribs. Out through your mouth and feel like you're compressing. Now you can use your hands where my hands are here if you want to. In through your nose, try and expand through those lower ribs. And out through the mouth. Good, last one of those. In through your nose. And out through your mouth. Brilliant. So for that nice breathing and sort of chest mobility, upper back mobility again, I'm just going to do some exercises where we're opening through the chest. So coming onto your side, it might be nice to have a little pillow there to prop your head up, haven't got anything handy. But anyway, I'll just have it hovering all down towards the mat. Roll myself up a bit actually, that'll give me a pillow, slight pillow. So your hands are going to be out in front of you here. Tuck that bottom hip back and shuffle the top one forwards. I want you to just scoop this bit in, draw in and tuck the bottom under. Now what we're doing is breathing in here, hand up towards the ceiling and breathing out as it comes over. Now we're getting that good rotation of the back, the upper back, and keeping the hips stacked one on top of the other. Breathe in again and out to the front again. Good. Breathe in and out, and this is all this lovely opening out of the chest. Good. Come to the front. Now you might feel that your boobs are a bit compressed at the front here. Tucking that arm underneath your head solves the problem of the headrest. So you might actually find that's a bit more comfortable there. Breathe in and breathe out, opening out the chest. For those of you with large bra sizes and underwiring, feel free to take the bra off. It sounds like a silly thing to think about, but that all might be getting in the way and compressing and digging into places. So if you're doing it on your own at home, then why not take your bra off? Good. Brilliant. Feels really nice to open out through these parts of the body. Breathe in and out. Good stuff. While we're on this side, we're going to do a few glute exercises. We're going to turn onto the other side and do the same thing again. So make sure that bottom hip is tucked back, bottom under, ribs under, feet in line with your bum. Now you can lift your feet up a little bit there to check that they're in line with your bum. And then you're just going to be lifting this top knee. I don't want you to rock back at all. Now those knees might not meet because of the thighs, so you might actually find that the thighs touch and then they just open up a little bit. It's also not important whether this knee gets very high. You'll actually see when I'm in a really strict position, that knee doesn't lift very high on me at all. I do this all the time, so the stricter the position, the less high that knee might lift. Good. So this is to strengthen those glute med muscles. This is all wonderful for lower back problems and for knee problems. So getting that working is really important. Now, I must say at this point, I don't want you to be feeling it in the thigh here, in the inner thigh, or in the lower leg there. So if you are, that means that you're cheating a little bit, and you just got to think about that shuffle of the bottom hip back, scooping through the tummy here, and then just moving from here and lifting. See, the stricter I get, the less high I can lift that leg. Definitely there. Good, so you should be able to do 20. If you can't, just take a rest, and then you can increase by 1 each time you do this workout. Good, so take note of how many you've got to. I have no idea how many I've done, but I'm going to say we're almost at 20 there. I'm sure I'll watch back and count, see if I'm correct. Brilliant. Now you can lift your feet up to hip height there. That can be a little bit sore on that bottom thigh there, but just think about it as massaging it. Then you've got a bit more range, you see, to go through. And we should be able to do 20 here as well. Good. That's 10. I'm going to count on this side. Think about those deep abdominals working. 70, 80, 90, 20. Brilliant. So we're going to move on to the other side. Take your time. Getting up, you might just want to roll over to the other side and bring me around to the other side here, but because I'm talking to you, I'm going to have to come over. So just take your time getting over, getting yourself down onto the other side. I know things can be a little bit tender on the floor as well, so just make sure that you've got a nice soft mat to work on basically. Tuck that bottom hip back. Rock the top hip forwards, scoop in through the tummy, top hand to wherever you can get it. Breathing in, breathing out, stretching through that upper back. Good work. Breathing in, breathing out. Couple more. And last one. Good stuff. So to some of those glute exercises there, you can come up onto the elbow there if that feels a little bit more comfortable to do. Tuck those ribs back, tuck in through that lower tummy, and we're just lifting this top knee here. Again, don't worry about where your leg comes down or up to. If you're moving your leg through that range and your hip through that range, I was going to say, then you're doing the right thing. And if you can feel it here, then wonderful. If you're feeling it down through the leg, just keep making corrections. If you can't seem to get it right, then just ping me a message in the comment box and I'll see if I can think about a way that you can correct things. We can have a conversation in there. Good stuff. You can do these as fast or as slow as you like, whatever seems to work for you. Got clams or oysters. Maybe you're 20. Feet up, like I say, to hip height. Good. Off you go again. Brilliant. Try not to drop that leg too heavy. Just control it. Take a rest at any time. Just bring the legs down, chill out. Make a note of where you got to with this exercise. You're probably counting better than me because I'm chatting away as usual. Brilliant. So that I don't bombard you too much there, I just want to reiterate a couple of things. That was great sort of start to the workout and some of the main principles of getting your body fit and strong, and getting it stronger in order to then carry out some of that cardiovascular workout that starts to make big differences to the body composition. And so this will be the scaffolding that holds you together. It's so that you can move stronger, you can move more confidently, you feel happier going into maybe some treadmill walking, some cross trainer, that kind of thing, just to feel like everything's being held together. And you can take some of these principles as well into that workout. So if you're doing some fast walking or you're doing some stuff on the treadmill, you can think about some of those postural positions as you go, just to hold yourself stronger, reduce the risk of the back hurting, of the knees getting any problems along the way. So I hope you enjoyed this workout. If you would like, please click subscribe if you like my channel. It helps me to grow it. Make sure you put a little comment on the comment box and click like if you liked it, and definitely follow the channel for hopefully some more of these workouts.